Mhm. How are you, Leslie?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I just recently, as of a couple of days ago, got out of a nice long 10-day silent retreat. So,
Hey.
uh, yeah, feeling very rejuvenated and relaxed. I call it a spa for the soul.
Uh, no kidding. So were you silent for 10 days?
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
But that's the funny thing about silence is that, um, it tends to be so loud when you're just basking in it. But
Mhm.
that's kind of,
Yeah.
yeah. How are you doing?
Good. Yeah, I feel like it's a little bit busy in my life right now, just getting kids settled into school and extracurriculars, but it's good. I just still feel like I'm a little bit in summer mode, but
Yeah.
it'll go away.
Well, that's right. You got Halloween coming up next week too with the kiddos. That's going to
Mhm.
be a sugar-filled time.
Yes. Yeah. I have lots of feelings about that, but we'll have fun with it.
Yeah. As a nutritionist, I'm sure you do.
Yes.
Yeah. But even at our retreat, they gave us little pieces of chocolate at tea time in the afternoon. So, a little bit here and there is
Oh, yeah,
okay, right?
for sure. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, welcome. And for those tuning in, Lesley is a new partner with us, and has, I'd say something that's unique about you, Lesley, is that you kind of have a nice wide umbrella approach using a variety of different healing modalities that are integrated into what I see as in college is holistic mental health.
Mhm.
The idea of supporting people in a holistic way using natural and medicine-free approaches to help people achieve and maintain balance in a really pure way using the wisdom of the body, nutrition, insight and intuition. And I want to let you talk about all this, but um, so that's how I kind of umbrella your focus, if you will, is holistic mental health, and then using a variety of tools to, well, how do you actually achieve that, right? And that's where you can kind of go into that today. Um, so what I thought would be great to begin is just letting you share a bit about you
Mhm.
and your story and how you kind of got into all this stuff and why you're passionate about it.
Sure. Yeah, sounds good. And thank you for having me. I'm very much looking forward to being a part of the Awakenpedia family and bringing that to the people in my space as well.
Mm.
Um, so my story starts, well, way long time ago, obviously, but I think that a good part to go back to is being in my 20s, working as a social worker. Um, it's a stressful job. I always knew that taking care of self was going to be huge, and I thought I was doing that. But it turned out I wasn't doing a very good job at it, and that was just from a lack of knowledge of what that actually meant for me. So I started to see lots of physical symptoms, like digestive and intestinal stuff going on. Um, so like being really tired after I'd eat or having pain, like stomach pain or nausea after I'd eat. So lots of different food intolerances were coming up. Um, and then so I'd see all the specialists and be told that everything was normal and to, take these prescription meds and then find a way to deal with stress. And I didn't really get that piece, but I was like, okay. Um, and then I also started to have some mental health struggles too, which I know were there before, but they came more to light. So the different bits of anxiety and realizing that what I was actually going through was lots of bouts of depression as well, but never connecting anything. And then I had some really good coworkers at the time, of course, like everyone comes into our life for a reason, but they, just kind of opened my eyes to a whole new world that I guess wasn't really mainstream. but it spoke to me. Like my eyes were just opened and it felt good. So I started to see naturopathic doctors for my symptoms and like functional medicine, nutritionists. And that's where I learned that there are health professionals out there that actually look for a root cause and will spend more than 15 minutes with you to really dig deep. And, it just felt a lot better to me. Um, and then, yeah, I figured some stuff out, but I guess my personality at the time was a little bit like, well, I really love learning and I'm going to do this myself. So that's when I studied nutrition with the Canadian School for Natural Nutrition and became a registered holistic nutritionist. And that's where I really learned all the interconnections between our body systems. So, I was having like the digestive problems, the gut health stuff, the mental health, the hormone stuff too. Um, so like within the time I had 3 miscarriages and just struggling with like PMDD and like really bad PMS. So those were all connected, and I got to learn that, and that was amazing. But then as I was still working as a social worker, I realized, well, I want to offer this type of support for people that I'm working with. So it's been 5 years now that I've been working out of the system and just on my own. And yeah, it feels amazing. It's still a journey. Like things are definitely changing within my practice as I learn new things. So nutrition is basically just like one piece of the coaching and the counseling that I offer, but I'm trained in NLP, so we do lots of work with bringing the unconscious mind on board with the conscious mind and kind of bridging that gap, digging into limiting beliefs and yeah, just like memories and emotions and how that's affecting things. So
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, like you said, a much more holistic way to look at things.
Yeah. Yeah, and comprehensive too, as you just pointed to, using your expertise and insight in nutrition, but also tying in NLP to be able to access the subconscious, and so that having really comprehensive solution that is interconnecting and looking at mind, body, and soul as a comprehensive unit,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's so important in health today. When I think of health and wellness and conversations around providing practical continuum of care in that way, uh, from the different dimensions of existence, physical, mental, and spiritual, it's important to be able to look at the total picture,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
One thing I would love just to hear your thoughts on, and because it's often discussed, how important gut health is in terms of its correspondence to mental health. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's in the gut that most of, if not the entirety of your serotonin, as well as a lot of the neurotransmitters that are responsible for, your perceived levels of happiness and mood, are kind of derived. But can you speak to that process of like how the gut itself is so important to mental health, and how you then kind of tie that into your offerings um, around addressing that?
Yeah, for sure. Um, Basically, there is a bidirectional link between your gut and your brain. And bidirectional meaning like it goes both ways. So yeah, there are neurotransmitters made in your brain, but the majority of them is made in your gut. And this is evident when, like, if you have something that makes you nervous, you feel off and you're nervous, you feel it in your tummy, right? And that's why, like, your nervous thoughts are affecting your tummy, and it goes the other way. So what's going on in our gut is going to affect your thoughts and your mood as well. Your gut is a microbiome, so there's good bugs and bad bugs, for lack of a better term, but that live there in harmony. It's okay that there's good and bad there, but in today's world, there's a lot of things that affect our gut microbiome that sometimes there's not enough good bugs, and then the bad bugs kind of take over. So that's where you can see different things happen. So like even like skin issues or like hormone stuff, all the other body processes that happen smoothly, they should be happening smoothly, are affected by those bugs that are in your gut. So then the type of food that you're eating affects that.
Yeah.
If so, sometimes your gut lining can become weak as well because of stress or the type of food we're eating, food. And so then things seep into your bloodstream that should be staying in the gut. And so then your body goes into like almost like attack mode, or that's the response, right? Like an allergic response almost. And then you see the skin issues or mental health and emotions, and hormone stuff too. So there's just so many connections. I hope that makes sense. Just a little bit of a microbiome talk.
Yeah. And yeah, that was wonderful. Just to get a high level sense of that interconnection and that two-way street, as you described it as, which makes total sense. And just portraying it to the analogy of like a car. If, your body as the vessel is the car. It requires certain inputs to be run well, right, and efficient, and to have things be smooth so that it can actually serve its purpose. But if you're putting diesel in a car that doesn't take diesel, it's going to break down and it's not going to function right. And through that dysfunction at the level of body, it's going to create a whole bunch of static that disrupts the signal to the higher realms of the mental and spiritual planes, so that you can then not really connect to that inner voice that is, that intuitive voice that's guiding us along this journey from an awakening perspective. So you really can see how this is so interconnected, and why it's so important, again, to have a really holistic and comprehensive approach.
Yeah.
So with that, why don't we transition into what you're offering today, the different services you provide specific to your focuses in these healing modalities, and talk to us about a bit about your service offering suite.
Sure. So I mostly work one-on-one with individuals in a 1-month program or a longer commitment, like 4 months. And that gives us a really good opportunity to do all that digging work and investigative work to really see what's going on. I think a lot of people who are struggling with anxiety or depression, let's say, they've been told that it's a disease or it's something that will just live with them forever, and they're putting up with it, but they want to manage it along the way. But really, those are symptoms of something else going on. It's a signal, right, that our body is giving us. So we can look for, with comprehensive intake and assessment, what could be causing that. And I always say to people too, like, we'll look for a root cause, and it doesn't necessarily mean we find the one root cause, because it's kind of like a chicken and egg scenario. But along the way, we can figure out what's likely contributing to the symptoms, and just come at it with that different perspective. So yeah, we do that either in a 1-month or a 4-month program. Sometimes people like to just start with like single sessions, kind of like the more traditional counseling, which is totally fine with me to bring them into my world that way. But they often do move into something longer that gives us more time to dig for a root cause and apply the different techniques along the way. Because sometimes people aren't ready to jump into like limiting belief work in the beginning, or the shadow stuff or the inner child work from the beginning, but they're okay with like, get me started on a meal plan where I'm intaking some whole real foods, and I can start with that. So that's what I also love about my work, is it's starting where the client is at, and we co-create a plan together. It's not me as a professional giving you a plan to go and work with. You have to be on board with that too. So, and then I also offer some different group programs. The one I'm running with right now is called the Mood and Mind Club. And it's a monthly membership for women who basically just want to take back control of their mood and their mind. and do it in that med-free, more natural approach. So we have a different topic every month, and then we have one live coaching call. It's not a lot of extra commitment, like 2 to 3 hours a month. Go through some workbook questions and handouts, and just create a community around women who are wanting to take this other approach. So that would be the main ways I work with people.
Yeah, wonderful. I love that. And I love the name of it too, Mood and Mind Club. That's a nice ring to it. Would you mind just talking a bit more and perhaps a little more overview of the, like, walk us through what a typical client case study would be, with somebody new for you, that's whether it's the 1 month or the 4 month program, just to give a sense of like what people could expect in that work with you, kind of perhaps starting with like an intake assessment as you described, and then with the exit all the way through to exit, just kind of high level stuff. I think people would appreciate that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it really is always different. So the beginning is always the same. Like, I'll send you very in-depth intake forms. I'm sure lots of people think it's a lot of questions, but I like it that way. It gives me a very good overview of where you're at, but also where you want to be, because like that gap is important to look at. And so you get these forms, you send them back to me. In our first appointment, we basically just go through the form and get more clear on like how typical day is for you, what goes on, and chat that way. And then if you're only in a 1 month program with me, it doesn't give a lot of time to go into things. So then in that next session, we're doing some goals work, but comprehensive goals work. So it's not just like, tell me your goal and we'll figure out how to get there. But we bring that unconscious mind on board with the conscious mind, because that's where a lot of self-sabotaging comes into play, is that you might have this goal, but your unconscious mind is stuck in like playing it safe and keeping you safe. And so it's like, no way are we stepping outside of our comfort zone. So we do a lot of work that way. And it takes time. There's like actual techniques that we do and visualizations. And then the third session in that 1 month would just be, you would get a health protocol. So it has diet, lifestyle, and supplement recommendations. Supplements are always optional, but the type of supplements that I use they're like herbs and adaptogens and very natural, and they can at least give you some maybe relief from symptoms, or just boost things, like maybe it's nutrients if there's a nutrient imbalance, get you feel some of that immediate feeling better to help you do the rest of the work. So that's why those are in there. And if you're in the 4 month program with me, then that just gives us so much more time to, sometimes people's main concern is like psoriasis, or they're not digesting food properly, or it's constipation. But there's always so much more underneath that we work through. And so even from that comes some belief work, or just I can give you a meal plan, but it's how can you actually implement it? And there's so much more to that. So it's a lot of coaching. And yeah, it's hard to just give like one case study, I guess, because everything's just so different, but that's what's fun about it too.
Yeah. But thank you. It paints a picture of just like the direction of how people could expect, or what to expect in working with you. Mm-hmm. But what you're saying is really valuable in the sense of why you can't give a blanket statement, because it points to the way in which you work with people, which is very personalized and customized based on what they're going through in that moment, right? And that's the essence of it, which is to say you're collaboratively working with someone hand in hand and co-creating this solution with them every step of the way.
Mm-hmm.
which is really powerful, right? And that's, I mean, that's what makes it, you know, something you can't just buy off the shelf. It's something where you're invested with them, which
Mm-hmm.
is really wonderful. Um, and and you know, the way in which you're going about this as well, I appreciate, in the sense of, you know, when we look at what people are coming into any type of health assessment with, whether it's a constipation or a skin rash or issue, you know, you're helping people to realize that what they're seeing on the physical plane is just the tip of the iceberg of what's truly going on. And as you mentioned, that's signaling and pointing to something much deeper that is actually the root of what's creating these symptoms that are manifesting in the physical and the mental planes. And therefore, you know, why you're doing the work you're doing with shadow work, you know, belief work, these various subconscious work streams that you're doing are so important to actually help people sustainably heal, so that those issues just don't manifest in another form, you know, later down the road, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And one other thing that I wanted just to ask you quickly about, knowing that you came into this space with your own suite of challenges in terms of anxiety and depression and other afflictions. How have you progressed yourself in using these more naturopathic methods of, you know, helping yourself to heal? Where do you stand today in terms of that balance?
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes, like when I'm building my business and, you know, I'll have certain coaches that talk about telling my story. I find it really difficult because I sometimes honestly forget that, oh, that was a problem for me. Like when I think about, wow, I used to like fall asleep in 1 p.m. meetings and be so embarrassed. But that's how food was affecting me. Like I'd eat lunch and then I would be so fatigued that I couldn't even keep my eyes open, or would be laying on the couch, you know, at the end of the day, like in pain, and knew that it wasn't something that I could ever go to the ER with, but didn't really know what else to do. And yeah, so sometimes it's hard to think back and realize how far I've come, but yeah, I do not feel sick after I eat food anymore. I also don't feel guilty. Like I did go through a phase where I was restricting a lot because I was having intolerances to the foods. So I felt like I had to be restrictive, and then that led to more anxiety and a lot of like guilty and shameful thoughts. So once I realized, like, found a little bit of freedom with that and realized that, yeah, I didn't have to think that way. And it took a lot of stress away once I just ate what felt good to me. And if I did eat something that I knew wasn't going to feel good, I let go of the thought that it was bad or wrong. So that was really important. And yeah, I'm a very, very self-aware, but like body-aware person. So I immediately know when something starts to feel like a little bit off because of just, you know, living. And then I can apply the strategies, or maybe it's taking a supplement or eating a certain way, or like going back to meditating every morning or something like that, like a habit that I've kind of gotten away from. But yeah, I just, it's the self-awareness piece, I guess. Like I just recognize when things are starting to feel out of balance, and I feel like I know what to do about it. And that's what I want for other people. Like I don't want other people to feel like they have to always outsource their health care, I guess, because our bodies are so smart,
Yeah.
and we have what we need inside of ourselves, right? But it's okay to have someone else show us that. But if we can take ourselves on that own journey, then I think it's really important.
Yeah, that's so well said. So many people today feel that it's an unconscious belief that they can't take care of themselves, so they must outsource their health care for whatever need it is. It could be the most simple thing, because so many people have been lost to the idea and now are ignorant that the body has been designed to be self-healing. And if we can connect and tap into that innate intelligence and let it and work with it, we can actually facilitate that process and save a lot of money too. And
Yeah. Oh.
with all of these healthcare expenses, because the body is a temple, and it's self-healing, and that self-healing is self-evident. If you get a scrape on your arm, a week later, that scrape has healed itself. And so the body is designed to heal. But when we're in a disconnected state spiritually, I've found, and we're disconnected from the source of healing, which is the source of life, it keeps us stuck in the mind, and then we prevent ourselves from being able to heal. So the mind is so important here too, as I know you know, and these different elements of creating homeostasis and a clear signal across all these different levels of existence. So I think the work you're doing is so important, and the way in which you do it is very wise, and therefore also important, because it allows for genuine, authentic, sustainable healing. And without it, maybe you're putting band-aids on infections and you're wondering why you're not getting better.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to be partnered with you, to be part of your growth story and help others, and looking forward to seeing where this goes together and how we can grow it and just evolve throughout the course of this journey. And I know that you are offering a nice discount to Awakenpedians as well, and that can be found in as well as the rest of your bio in our member forum, so everyone can check her out there and book directly through that. But anything else, Lesley, that you want to just comment on or leave with here? I'll let you have the final remarks.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think so. I feel like I said all my good bits.
Yeah,
But
well,
thank you very much.
Yeah, lots more to come.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see how it all unfolds. So thank you.
Okay.
And be in touch, okay?
Have a great rest of your day.
All right, thanks. You too.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.